Well, all right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Whiskey Hour here on Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. We got a treat for you guys today. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before I get to that treat, let me go ahead and throw the quick blurbs up there for you guys real quick. Let me pull this up. There we go. If you like the content today, make sure you check us out on all of our handles, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. If you want it, this link tree is also in the show description. So if you want to check out more of our content, just go to the link tree in the show description and it'll bring up all of our stuff. And also the interview that we did with Delta Circle prior to their album release. All right. You can also check us out on LinkedIn. We are now available on LinkedIn. So if you guys want to book with us or talk with us, you can also check us out on our social media sites as well as LinkedIn. What a time to be alive. All right, folks, without further ado, also, I should probably say we're sponsored by Dubby. If you use the promo code of ESEN, you get a 10% off discount on your bottle or shaker cup of Dubby energy drinks. And I got to tell you, I have tried it. It doesn't have a lot of jitter to it, but it will wake you up like a good cup of joe. So give it a shot. Lots of different flavors. And give it a shot. ESEN will get you that 10% discount off of your purchase. All right. Without further ado, man, let me bring my boys in. I'm going to bring in the guy in his automobile because that's how we roll. My boy, Kyle Graydon from Delta Circle. Also, we're going to bring in the rest of the crew. You got Nick, Ernest, and the backseat cousin Josh Buck Owens.
What's up, big man?
Hey, we're doing good. We are doing good. First of all, let me have you guys introduce yourselves. I'm gonna have you guys introduce, so that way everybody knows who everybody is. All the listeners know who everybody is, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about our favorite alcoholic beverages. So, if you wouldn't mind, let's start with the passenger, the driver, the cousin, and then we'll wrap it up with Kyle.
Passenger. So the passenger, that'd be me. So my name is Nick. I'm the lead singer, lead guitar player for the band.
I'm Ernest, bass player.
Well, that was quick.
Oh, I am.
I mean, plenty more than that. I'm Joshua Buck Owens. I do a little bit of guitar and screw some things up now and then. You know, that's
and then we got Kyle. Kyle, tell them what instrument you play and a little bit about yourself.
Kyle. I'm Kyle. I'm the drummer. I just hide in the back.
Trust me, Kyle, you're not hiding.
not today.
Not today.
I know that's the most focal point. Like he's
all by himself today up there.
So Josh, tell me a little bit about yourself, man. Give me a little bit of history on you.
Me? Shoot. Ain't much to it, man. I was born a long time ago. Not that long ago. About, I don't know, 28 years ago. And just lived for about 10 or 11 years, and then I started playing guitar and lost the rest of my time in that. And here we are now.
Hey, there's nothing good wrong with getting lost in the guitar, man. I mean, if you're getting lost, that's a good place to get lost, right?
I mean, between then and now, I've been lost other places, and it wasn't near as much fun. I'd recommend music. Get lost in there, not
Absolutely.
other things.
That's some sound advice.
For a minute there, I was wondering why Josh was sitting in the back seat, but now I kind of understand a little bit clearer as to why.
Yeah.
It's safer for me to be back here without a helmet. Safer for other people to be back there. I'm serious. Look, I busted my head the other day. You see that? Like
User error.
Yeah,
Hey,
it was.
from now on, at first I wasn't sure if you were actually a Buck, but from now on, you are no longer Josh to me. You are just simply Buck. I'm gonna call you Buck. That's your new nickname. Okay, I want you to know.
I love it. I love it.
That is awesome. All right, hey, let's talk a little bit about some liquors, man. Now today, this is the whiskey hour, so don't hold this against me. But today I'm drinking what my wife calls the purple drink. I don't know if you can see that real well, but it's purple. And I call it the wonderful drink. And basically, it ain't nothing more than vodka and grape Kool-Aid. Because we poor people. We can't afford that.
Whiskey?
So that's what I'm drinking. That is what I am actually drinking on today. But I gotta tell you, because this is a whiskey hour type of show, which basically, if you don't know what whiskey hour is, we're just a water cooler. We just like to shoot the shit. Okay, that's what we do here. But my drink, what I really like, now I like to really drink on the small batches. I gotta be honest with you guys. I like the small batch whiskeys, but they're a little pricey sometimes. So sometimes they gotta be a little bit more realistic, and we gotta step it down a notch. Not that Crown is exactly cheap, by mind you, but I do like the Crown Blackberry, which, if you didn't know, that actually came out this year as a promo thing, but it's going to actually hit up, I think, in spring of 25, that you'll see it always on the shelf. But Crown Blackberry on its own, as Nick knows, and pretty much everybody else knows, it does not stand well on its own.
No, not really. No. Not good.
When you mix that thing with one or two things, I have mixed it with lemonade and I have mixed it with sweet tea. By the way, if you can get a Sun sweet tea, by the way, when I say sweet in the South, if you ain't got 4 cups of sugar in your grape Kool-Aid,
you ain't doing it right. You ain't doing it right.
Okay, and it's the same thing with sweet tea. It's just a different beverage, but the same amount of sugar content. Okay, but when you mix it with a good Sun sweet tea. Oh man, bro, it's like a whole nother level of life.
I have to try that. I ain't had that. I'm gonna have to give that a shot.
Interesting mix, yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. That's my little cocktail that I like. Blackberry Crown, lemonade, or sweet tea, whatever you have on hand. That's my drink of choice. And if it's clear, it ain't water. It's probably just straight vodka because Jay couldn't afford lemonade. Doesn't matter. But enough about me. This show is not about me. This show is about Delta Circle, bringing it to the listeners. We want to get more up and close and personal with you guys. Not that personal. I don't want to know what your underwear color is, but I want to get close enough that I can relate to you guys. And so I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. I have no filter. Listen, guys, but we want to know what your drink is, right? So if let me ask you this. If you put yourself, you're doing a gig, maybe some customers come up to you, they want to buy you a beverage of choice. What would you want to be drinking, or what would you want them to bring you? Nick, we're going to start with you, then Ernest, Josh, and we'll wrap it up with Kyle's favorite drink. So, Nick, what would you want to be drinking on?
Man, if we're talking cocktails, I'm just a good straight up old fashioned guy. I will never turn down an old fashioned.
Yeah, me neither.
That's just, it's such an easy go to, but there's a reason it's an easy go to.
You know, I like that. I like what you said about the old fashioned. My next up would have been a Moscow Mule, because a Moscow Mule is kind of close to that. But anyway,
it is. I'm just not much of a vodka guy.
I know. Look, I wasn't either, man. But we couldn't afford 2 bottles of liquor in the household because we're not that expensive. But so I had to compromise. So I had to go with what, man, Mel's a vodka person. So I said, you know what? Fuck it, it's still liquor. I'm still getting a buzz. All right, I'll switch over to vodka. Whatever.
Sure.
Ernest, what is your drink of choice? If I'm going to buy Ernest a drink in the bar, what would I be buying Ernest?
Man, I'll take a Crown and Ginger all day.
My man. Can't go wrong with some Crown and Gingers. No doubt about it. Now,
you can.
We're going to go to the youngest of the group. I'm going to assume youngest because, quite frankly, Buck, you're pretty young. You look young. I'm pretty sure you're old enough to drink. So if I want to buy the guitar, the other guitars to the band, a beverage of choice, what would I be bringing Josh?
First of all, I only look this young because I'm way back here. So my head is half the size of their big ass heads.
I'm hurt, Jay.
Nick is like 3 or some odd years younger than me, by the way. Just saying, not that it matters, but I felt the need to bring it up. Not that it's important or anything.
What's your beverage?
If you're gonna come up, when people come up and they insist on buying a shot because they want to do a shot with me, I usually throw wild turkey at them to see if they can hang with it.
Oh, you are a menace. Wow.
I was wondering where you was getting that beard hair from, Josh. And now, if you're drinking wild turkey, I have a good, clear understanding.
Yeah. Hey, well, you can have it.
On the top of the Crown. I hadn't tried much with the blackberry, but I used to drink Crown Apple with cranberry juice.
Yes,
That's the way
Crown
to do
Apple
it right
Cran,
there.
yep.
Yeah, Crown
That's
Apple,
a great
Crown
cocktail right there.
Apple with some, in all honesty, Crown Apple and Crown Peach. I really like the peach. They can kind of stand alone. They don't really need a lot of help, but if you want to give it a little help, you can. But they can almost kind of stand alone. But by the way, I'm 52 years old. And if somebody said to me, I look like a 20-year-old, I would be thanking God because you know what?
That's fine. I ain't that old yet.
Hey, Josh, you can always go forward, but you can't ever go back, brother. So if I say you look young, you just let that know that's a compliment because I wish somebody said I look 20.
Hey, he got offended here, which is why I felt the need
I
to stand
know.
up for him.
You just, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Nick, are
And
you
I
over there
want to
in
explain,
trouble?
distance from camera angle, and I can't even see my own self on there. Their heads are so big.
Don't worry. Hey, all these hot ladies that are seeing you, they're going to be giving you a call. I got the feeling.
See you back there.
I don't know. Wild turkey was probably a turn off.
All right,
Yeah,
Kyle.
how you doing?
Let's wrap this one up with Kyle. Kyle, if I'm going to buy the drummer a drink, man, what would I be driving or what would I be buying for Kyle?
If somebody come up and wants to buy me a drink, I'm gonna have to go with a little bit of ice mixed with some Coke.
Damn. You know what's interesting? I would have had him saying the wild turkey and Josh saying the ice and Coke. But hey, I also thought that Josh was Buck and Kyle was whoever. I don't know. I don't know. I had it all discombobulated until I met these guys. I really did think that the drummer's name was Josh Buck Owens and that the guitarist was Kyle Graydon. But then when I met them, I was like, man, I had that way wrong. And I knew I was going to have it wrong because 9 times out of 10, Jason usually is wrong.
I've been like that for 40 years with Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, so I get it, man. Like,
you know what? That's weird you say that. I'm the same way. I do the same thing. I'm like,
I guess it's because I'm a guitar player.
yeah.
This is actually the second time in like as many days that people have got the two of us backwards.
Actually, yeah, it is. Yeah.
One of the things I like about you guys is, and I've listened to your album way more because Melanie's like, Jason, that's like the 30th time I've heard Here Comes a Small Town. We're in a small town. We don't need to hear it 35,000. I said, baby, I'm doing my research. You just still didn't look pretty.
I mean, it's a great album too. So I mean,
It is. No, seriously.
Come on now.
It's crazy because it really is an amazing album. But
Thank
I was telling Mel the other day, I was like, when I watched Queen, Queen was always the kind of band that, they had no definition of who they were. That Queen was pretty much wherever they wanted to be, right? I mean, you saw the disco, the rock, the opera. I mean, they could do it all, right? And then when I listened to your album, I'm almost feeling the same kind of way that I felt about Queen, that I felt about you guys, because,
wow.
the first song, and I say that because the first song is highly energetic, Southern rock driven, but with some small country undertones. And then I get to, the next 5 songs, which are a combination of a lot of different things. And then I get the last song, which is another high energy song and Take Me Out. And I'm thinking like, damn, I feel like I got put to bed wet.
Well, man, hey, appreciate that.
Yeah.
If anybody ever lays a comparison against what we've got going on in Queen, we'll take it. Like,
That's hot. Thank you. Thank you.
If you listen to the album, you hear a lot of different things, right? Even in country songs that are talking about their ex-girlfriends and losing their job, it's always that slow ass rhythm with this high George Strait twangy voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I listen to you guys, it's like even though you're slow and sappy songs like All I Knew and Like I Love Her or Like I Love You, they're not so slow. I mean, there's still, even in somebody else's story, it's still a kind of a quick rhythm to it. Even so, it's kind of like, I'm feeling sad. Yeah, but I want to dance to this shit too. So it's kind of weird.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and And I feel like you guys describe yourself as country and zesty Southern rock, and that's exactly what you are. Anybody that buys this album, by the way, it is available on iTunes for $10. And I will tell you this, for $10, that's the best damn $10, honestly, I spent for 7. Now, you don't get a lot now. You only get 7 songs, but I promise you that 7 songs is worth every damn penny. And I say that because I listened to it, not because you're my friends, but because I actually really enjoyed this. And if I didn't enjoy it, I would be straight up honest with you. But it's a really good value for the money that you're spending. So anybody out there, it's available everywhere. I got mine off of iTunes, but you can go anywhere, app, Amazon Music, whatever, and you can pick up someone else's story. So let's go from there. Josh, I got a question for you. What does Delta Circle mean to you, brother?
To me, it means thank God I finally found a group of guys that aren't completely insane. Musicians, minds, dude. I can't stand half the musicians I've ever met. They're mentally ill without exception, and that includes everybody here. It's manageable here somehow or another. Me and Kyle used to play in a band or two before this, and it was the same kind of group, but it changed umbrellas or whatever you want to say. And we just always had problems, or we get involved with some other project, and then come to find out 2 weeks later, it's like dating a girl. You find out 2 months later, you think at first everything's great, she's perfect. 2 months later, she's completely insane, throwing away all your socks.
Yeah, I know. I married her. Her name is Melanie. I understand. But a lot of you guys don't know this, and I'm going to share this little story with you anyway. Now, I know this may be a little TMI, but I was sitting in my bathtub one day, and I know, right? And I was thinking to myself, I say, you know what? I really want to do something special for Melanie. Like, I want to do something that she's going to appreciate.
Besides watching?
So I call up Nick, and I'm like, yo, Nick, I want to do something special for Mel. Can you sing a song for us, or maybe 1 or 2 songs for us, whatever? And at this barn that we visit all the time, and I want to slow dance with her. And Nick's like, yeah, sure, no problem, I got you. So we go there, and Dulce and Andrew, her children, and Nick were in the barn. And when we pull up, it's already raining. So you can imagine this raining situation. We go up in there. She's all surprised. She's just like, Jason, I didn't think you had it in you. I said, I didn't think I did either. Thank God for Nick.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I will tell you, Nick did such an amazing job. I mean, our song we did Tangled Up in You by Aaron Lewis. That was at our wedding. And he did that, and it was such a beautiful situation with the rain and the family and the barn. Thank God there were no horses, but it was a beautiful situation. And that's just the kind of people that Delta Circle as a whole really is. Because I will tell you, Ernest is the same kind of guy as Nick is, and Josh and Kyle, from the little bit that I've known you. We're going to get to know you more as we go along. You guys are really just incredibly good human beings, and that's my interpretation of what Delta Circle means to me. That's what I think it means. Kyle, what does Delta Circle mean to you, brother?
The same boat as Josh. Josh kind of said, me and Josh played together, and we encountered some characters, to say the least. And getting together with these two, because by the way, the 4 of us getting together was a complete utter accident and coincidence, and it got put together, and it was like turning on a light switch that just you can't turn off.
Yeah. So you mentioned, and I know when we did the pre-show, or not the pre-show, when we did the first interview with Delta Circle, they kind of explained how you guys came about. But Kyle, from your perspective, can you just tell us a little bit about how that came about, that you guys joined Delta Circle, and what it was like when they approached you?
Actually, it was me and Josh were we were supposed to play a gig down on Tybee Island, and our bass player had parted ways, and we had a guy to fill in for us, and he called me at lunchtime and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna make it." And I'd heard through the grapevine that Ernest was free, so I called Ernest and was like, "Hey, man, I need a bass player for the night if you could fill in." And he was happy as can be to come do it. And that was pretty much it. He come down, he played with us. Nick come down and hung out and played a couple songs, and we've been playing together ever since.
Okay, I don't know if we may have lost. I think Josh may have froze up on us, but that's an interesting story. That's interesting. Josh, what was it like? Obviously, I know, like you said, Ernest was filling in as a bass player, and then Nick obviously came and joined the group. What was it like, and how did you guys kind of come about? I mean, was it Ernest asking you, or was it you talking to them, or was it a mutual thing, or was it just how did it all come about, the actual interaction of it?
So funny enough, I got a message from Kyle. He texted me and said, "Hey, emergency mode. The other guy just canceled for tonight, so we got to find a bass player in a couple hours." And I had gotten a text earlier in the day about filling in on guitar in their old band, and I was like, "That doesn't make sense." and then Kyle called me, and I mentioned this to him. He said, "What? Wait a second." And then he hung up and called Ernest. And then, and we ended up there. It was totally complete accident.
It was super wife swap. It was great.
Yeah, but I think some of the great bands are kind of formed organically like that. I mean, that's kind of a very organic
absolutely,
thing
for sure.
you guys, yeah. So that's a very, even, the way, I'm going back to Queen, the way they met, their lead singer.
To bring that up. Yep.
It's crazy how things work out like that, but those sometimes are just how the best bands are formed, honestly.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, and it's even crazier, man, because even how small the musical circuit here is in Savannah. I've been around here a long time, and there's not too many guys that I haven't either been in a band with them or played with them, or we've come across each other in some capacity. And, Josh and Kyle wasn't those guys. Like, I think I met Josh in passing one time prior to that. And I think I've seen Kyle probably, me and Kyle probably hadn't vetted 5 hours around each other, and it was just something never even came across that we would be playing with each other because the band that they were in at the time and where we were at the time, and just not anything that ever, set on the table. And then for things to all come together the way it did on that Friday, and then that following Saturday, we created the name Delta Circle, put the Facebook page up, talked to these guys, and pulled the cord, man, and been running with it now for 4 months. So,
what a crazy because you guys really do have a good synergy. I mean, even when Ernest, when you had met Nick in the former band Chain Reaction, you guys really hit it off. Like, I could just see when you're performing on stage how you guys are feeding off of each other, and it kind of seems that's the same way that Kyle and Josh are, and it just makes perfect sense that you guys would all four click in good synergy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's the hardest thing to find, man. It never matters the level of talent, and what's even crazier is usually the more talent you have in a band, the more problems you have in a band. Because everybody's more about individuality than becoming a cohesive unit, and that's just something we don't have. We're all in this for the same common goal. We're surrounded by, phenomenal talent, and, everybody brings it to the table, and, we just do it together, and there's nobody trying to outdo anybody else. There's no egos. Everybody knows their parts, and, we just make it happen, man. And that's what's made Delta Circle what it is.
There's no fighting or arguing over this or that. Like every other group I've ever been in, we're arguing about, are we going to play this song or how are we going to do that? There's always disagreements and compromise. And I'm not saying there's not compromise, but there's almost no need for compromise because everybody's on the same page, and we're not trying to, well, I don't really want to do it, but I guess so if everybody else wants to. If one person says, dude, I really don't want to play this song by the Eagles, as long as it is, I can't I can't do this song. So, okay. All right, we just won't do it.
Something else. Yeah.
Why do you want to make anybody's life harder than
there's so many things to choose from that why waste time? Well, no, we're going to why waste time with doing that when you can just spend the next 15 seconds ago, okay, what do we all actually know? And then just, there you go. There's your option. Yeah.
And that's a good segue because honestly, I've heard you guys, you know, a lot of times in different locations, different bars, what have you. And you guys are an excellent, amazing cover band. Seriously. I mean, Midnight Rider, ain't nobody do it better than you guys. I promise. It's a good
Thank you.
version. And I'm not even saying, look, and Nick knows because I asked for Midnight Rider all the damn time. So he knows exactly what I'm saying. And also he knows that Peter Frampton is do you like the way I feel? You know, he knows that that's my number 2 go-to. And if he didn't screw up his damn voice box, I probably
well, it's funny. It's funny you say that because thank you to Kyle. He knew a guy, and we just got it fixed. So that might be returning to the set.
That song's coming back.
It's coming back. Okay, all right, it's coming back.
Damn, I might have to tell Mel I got to make an emergency flight down for this stuff. No, you don't understand. Nick will tell you how much I love that Peter Frampton song. Nick will tell you I'm like a crack addict for that crap. I mean, seriously, it's crazy. Okay, you know, but it's interesting. So you guys are such a good cover band, but now you guys aren't necessarily a cover band anymore. Now you're transitioning into a full-fledged, or you have transitioned, not transitioning, you have transitioned into an actual band that has a good album, and it could very well be when it, you know, if it takes off, you know, to epic proportions, you know, or even your sophomore album or their third album, whatever, it gets you more out there. It could be very well that people are covering your stuff. Now, what would that be like if you walk in a
wild.
Somebody's playing your stuff?
I have never even thought of that. The day I see that happen, like whether it's just online or like we just happen to be somewhere and I hear somebody play our song, I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do.
Right.
Yeah. I'll probably cry. I have never thought about that. That would be wild.
Kyle, let me get your weigh in on that, man. What would it be like if you walked into a bar and you heard a Delta Circle song, man? What would that? How would you feel about
that? I don't even know. I guess I've never put too much thought into that. I mean, I'd probably lose my shit a little bit.
Hey, my advice to you guys, though, and look, you guys are good. You guys got the mojo, okay? You got the mojo. Just remember, when you guys are playing arenas, you remember little Jay McLovin because his ass needs a good seat. Damn it! Don't forget the small kids. But no, seriously, you know, you guys are you have transitioned now into a band, and so let's kind of get. Let me ask you a few more questions to you guys, and then we'll talk a little bit about the album. You know, I already asked you, you know, what it means to be a member of Delta Circle. Let me go to the next one. Now that you have debuted your first album, on your next album, and this really is for Nick and Ernest, and whoever wants to answer this can certainly take the lead on that. And if you both want to answer, perfectly fine too. Now that when you come to your sophomore album, right? Everybody knows that the first album, you know, it's kind of like Guns N' Roses. When Appetite for Destruction came out, it was the best shit everybody ever heard. I mean, it went viral. It was all over the place.
Oh, 100%.
Then when Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 and Spaghetti Incident came out, for me, it was never they could never live up to Appetite for Destruction. Like, you could never live up to that album, right? So let me ask you guys this. You guys got a solid CD. You have a solid CD in someone else's story. How are you going to, number one, get that album, that sophomore album, to match the debut? And then will Kyle and Josh be a part of that writing process when you do your sophomore album?
Well, I don't know if we're really gonna need to approach it in how do we make a similar to or better than second record? Because, you know, the way we write, the way this record was written was just, I mean, it's just, and it may sound cheesy like everybody else says, but it's things that, you know, have actually, you know, impacted us, or things that we're passionate about, you know, things that matter to us. And so I think as long as we can just kind of stay even at least just stay on that track, then every album we do, it's going to be us,
Right.
it's, we won't have to worry about, well, okay, how do we write a better song? Because there's really no better song per se. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in the writing process, I mean, they kind of a little were with Back and Better. We kind of all were, because that was a very quick, when that song was written was like 2 weeks before Ernest and I went out to the studio. We needed a last track and we couldn't think of anything. So we had just sat in the rehearsal space at Kyle's and just started throwing riffs out. And one of them, I don't even remember who threw it out, but we all ended up pitching in and writing a portion of that main riff for that song. But absolutely, I 100% would love to get them as a whether it's to a riff or if there's like a topic idea or any kind of, because this isn't just one person's band, this is
Absolutely.
Well, and to build off what Nick said, I mean, you've got your whole life to write your first album. Then you usually got about 6 to 8 months to get ready for your second one. But with that being said, as well, like, yes, and Nick and I, co-founded this band, but that as far as the whole, the ownership goes, what we've got going on with this band, and 100%, Kyle and Josh is going to be, part of the writing moving forward,
for sure.
And get ready for the second album, because it's something that we're all working for this, and we definitely want to be able to everybody put their effort in, and I'd love to be able to see individual songs with just Josh's name next to it, and then you got your songs as co-written by the other members in the band. And hopefully with that's going to take what we was able to put out with this first album and really bring something different, or who knows where it's going to be, but we're just going to keep moving forward and hopefully put out quality stuff that keeps us out there and moving forward. And hopefully we're going to get the invite to get out and do a second album.
Yes.
So that's where we're at now. Our focus now is just to push this over the next 9 months and see where we can go with what we're doing with someone else's story.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love about you guys, is you guys are, you're genuine guys, right? I mean, you're out there, you're writing songs about what and things of that nature. And I'm kind of glad you said it, because when we get into the actual talk about the album, I'm going to reflect back on personal experiences and things like that. Okay, so let's get on to the next one then. Let's see here. What's the next one? Okay. So in the introduction, Josh and Kyle will be asking. No. I'm sorry, I'm reading my own handwriting. So
I feel that. That's why I type everything, because I can't read my handwriting.
Not supposed to read inside the parentheses.
Okay, that's what I want to go into. So, all right, now we're gonna do like a little round robin. So, and I know I kind of gave it to you in an order. So the order is gonna be Nick. Tell me something about Josh that maybe people don't know.
Well, I mean, I think it's the obvious one for us, but I mean, this boy is a compass. This boy is a compass. And a prime example is when we were doing a show in New Orleans at the House of Blues, where there was, I think it was the night before, we were just walking around and we were trying to go somewhere for dinner, and we're all trying to pull it up on our phones. And he's like, "Oh, I seen it the other day when I was walking around, and just took us there off of memory." It was the Hard Rock. Yeah. We were going to the Hard Rock for dinner, and we're all trying to look it up on our phones. We're just in the middle of like downtown New Orleans trying to figure it out. And he's just walking, and we're like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "To the restaurant." And we're okay. We just followed him, and by God, we made it. So yeah, every time. I don't know how he does it, but this boy's a compass.
So Josh is basically your Waze.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Turn left at the next light. Yes.
It's funny. Me and my brother grew up out in the woods, like deer hunting and everything, and he has no sense of direction. I always know where I'm at. So.
Not sure where he's going, but he knows where he's at.
I usually drop a cat upside down. It always lands on its feet. I got a feeling that's exactly what Josh is. I think.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, pretty much.
Josh would land on its feet.
You can spin me around as many times as you want. Send me.
He'll still get there.
I'll get to where I'm going.
It may take you a little while, but he'll get there.
Hey, that might be good if you ever have to walk the yellow line for a cop. No, I'm saying I don't think you'll ever have to do that.
I'll have to go right to jail, but I'll get there.
That's awesome.
But no, okay. So Kyle, tell me something about Nick. Now, Kyle, I know a lot about Nick. I have spent a lot of time with Nick. Okay, tell me something about Nick that maybe even I wouldn't know.
Choose your words wisely, Kyle.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I wasn't expecting. Yeah, I got to dig deep for this one.
All right, I'm gonna put you on a momentary pause. I'm gonna come back to you. When I come back to you, I need an answer. And look, you're in a car. Nick's in a bedroom with two other guys. You're safe. You're good. You're marked.
It's a dining room.
It's a dining room. You're on the table.
Oh, my bad. So they're in the dining room getting ready to eat supper. You're perfectly fine. You're fine. All right, so I'll come back to you. You think about that. I'll come back to you. All right, let's go to Ernest. Ernest, tell me something about Kyle that maybe. Well, honestly, I don't know a lot about Kyle. I'm kind of finding out about him. Obviously, I've learned that he's afraid of Nick. So
be afraid. Be afraid.
I am.
But
I'm shaking right now.
Hey, Ernest, tell me something about Kyle that maybe I wouldn't know.
He's very talkative.
Yes. Contrary to popular belief.
Yes. Everybody who meets, like, he don't have a lot to say. It's like, you got no idea. Like, he is very intuitive and very talkative. So
Yes.
Don't let that quiet demeanor fool you.
People scare me.
You're Shania Twain. Every time we turn around, he tries to add 3 or 4 Shania Twain songs to the set list.
Absolutely.
I'm not doing them.
In my defense, I said we make Josh do it, but
Hey, that's why I have one of these. Okay. That's why I got a phone.
Lord have mercy. All right, Josh. I'm going to ask you another question. Tell me something about Ernest, other than the fact that he has long hair, which I found out this morning. Tell me something about Ernest that I wouldn't know.
Well, I mean, man, like you made it kind of hard, especially when you were lining Nick up. You're like, no, this is gonna be hard because I know a lot about this man, but I don't know how much you know about it. He's like if he wasn't actually playing music, he could manage and run an entire band to a level of success that's far beyond anything
100%.
you're gonna find in your area. He's the business. I might be the navigator, but he is the business soul of this whole operation. He keeps the lights on.
Yes.
Ernest, let me ask you to follow up on what Josh just said about you. Now I know that your family has a background in music. Okay. Mm-hmm. Has that background in music, has that helped make you the music business manager type of person that Josh is saying that you are? Which I already know you are, but is that where you kind of derive that off of, or?
Well, actually, no. That's where I got my drive and my interest, to get to playing music. Because, like I said, I was one of those kids that grew up, my family sat around the bonfires on Saturday night playing acoustic guitars and singing songs. And, I was always surrounded by the music side. But actually, no, man, the business derivative actually come from, I've got an uncle of mine who's a very successful attorney, in the area. And him and my dad were, always very business minded. I used to pick my dad's brain, all the time on how to run, corporations and how to do business planning and stuff like that. And I've actually ran multiple businesses, myself. And I've applied that, but I've also was fortunate to work in different levels in the music industry. I worked on the booking side with industries here in Savannah. I worked in music studios as session musicians. And, I've always learned that even though I think I may know, I always kept my mouth shut and listened anyway, and was very fortunate to be surrounded by, lots of people in the industry, and was able to learn the kind of ins and outs of how to handle it, man. And that's just kind of, what I base it off of. And anytime I'm not sure, I've also been fortunate enough that I've got people that I can call and talk to, and they kind of help, steer me in the right direction.
Yeah, man, that's a good answer. I didn't know you had an uncle that was an attorney. I could have used him when I was in jail. Damn. Might have got that
Well, you're getting
earnest.
all right. You woke up with me this morning, and now you found out I've got an uncle that's an attorney. I mean, we're getting that's good stuff.
Getting intimate
Hey,
now.
I'm just saying. And hey, listen, and you're not gonna find this on nobody else's interview. Okay, you get this right here on Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. This is how you know if you need an attorney, you just call Ernest. Hey, listen, I do want to put a rule before we get into now. We're gonna get into the album, but before we get into the album, I do want to say, hey, if you guys want any merchandise or music from these guys, I already know you can get the music on any platform. But if you want merch or if you want to find out where they're playing next or anything like that, you can go to DeltaCircleMusic.com. Go to Delta Circle. Make sure you put music in there. DeltaCircleMusic.com. And you will find them. You can also find them on Facebook just by putting simply Delta Circle in. And like I said, YouTube, Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, Pandora, iHeart, iTunes, and Amazon Music. You can purchase their CD. What a time to be alive, folks. All right, let's kick this bad boy off. I'm going to play Back and Better, and then we'll talk about it, and then we're going to go from there, fellas. Is that okay?
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right.
Amazon notification. Someone just bought the album. You can't. That's gonna be on his side. Yeah, it goes through on his side. Yeah, when he puts it out, you'll be able to hear it. Because I noticed that on the platform. Yep. And nothing to it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for holding that, man. And it's wording. Crying to dehydrated or something? I'm okay. I'm okay. Big face kid.
All right, that was Back and Better by Delta Circle. We're gonna kind of dive into that, guys. I gotta tell you, man, when I listened to that song the first time, I was thinking like, this is a great boxing anthem. Like, if I'm a boxer, I would play this going out to the ring.
That's awesome.
It has a real high energy to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Get in touch with the UFC.
I know. I never thought about it being like an entrance song like that. That's bad. I like that.
That's what Tyson can walk out to next Friday. You know?
Like, yeah, come on now.
Or Jim Paul can say it after he got knocked out by Tyson looking for a rematch. I mean,
Yeah.
however you want to play that, just in that one. But no, so let's talk about someone else's story. This obviously is the first song on the track. And the one thing I've noticed about this, when I heard someone else's story, I was like, I wonder what this album's going to be about. This is interesting to me. And you kind of open it up where, the song talks about, basically this woman is, kind of like dragging you through some stuff, and y'all kind of break up. She thinks she got the best of you, but yet you come back and you're kind of like telling her, hey, you can get the best of me because now I'm back and I'm better than what I was with you. Is that my interpretation? Is that kind of what you guys were going for in that song, or am I kind of off kilter?
No. I mean, and that's the good thing about music. It's always open to interpretation, man. And that's kind of where we leave everything. Everything we write, of course, it has to come from an experience, and stuff like that. But, in generalization, we want everybody else to put their feelings into it. We want them to be able to relate to it. We don't really want to lay out, well, this is exactly what this song was about, because it feels like that's kind of pulling, everybody else out of it. We want you to be able to kind of put yourself into that song and make it yours. We want you put that song on, man. We wrote that about you. You know what I mean? Like we want that to be really part of you. And that song, like, and Nick was telling a story earlier, that song was completely accidental. When Nick and I sent the scratch tracks to the label, before we was going to the studio, they were just like, man, there's a lot of slow songs on here, man. We need something, a little bit more upbeat. And they had actually recommended making one of the other songs and beefing it up. So we sat in the room, it was holding a beer, and we were taking this song, man. We were trying to add like all these different riffs to it. And it just never felt the vibe for how we had originally intended, to write that song. Right. And so we just recorded a bunch of riffs. And so anyway, we were getting close to going to the studio, and my girlfriend Cher had sent me some lyrics, and I was like, oh. So I took the lyrics and I sent them to Nick, and I was like, hey, man, check these lyrics out.
15 minutes later, I had an idea track sent to him. And
yeah.
He's like, that's it.
He sent it back, and that was the rough cut for Back and Better. And that song was never intended to make the album, much less be the first single to drop and garnish almost 50,000 streams in the first, month of it being out. And, so yeah, it's wild, so it's one of those songs that was never meant to be. And now it's one of our, marquee songs.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, let me ask you this question on Back and Better. You just heard Ernest talk about it's had over 50,000 streams, which, by the way, is freaking incredible on your first single getting debuted, and hasn't even been out for very long. So that's amazing. But Kyle, what is it? How did you feel when you saw that song get to 50,000 downloads?
I can't even put that into words. Especially just how that song even came about. Like they've already said twice. I mean, it was an accident.
Yeah.
We were sitting at the house for we just messed around for about an hour and so recorded it all. And actually, me and Josh didn't even know it was a thing. They came back from the studio like, hey, by the way, there's a whole new song, and we don't have any recordings of it, but you need to learn it and play it in a week in New Orleans.
Dude, I totally forgot that's how y'all got introduced to that song, because like we had written the riff in your rehearsal space, went home, and like we didn't even know we had written the riff. And then I sent Ernest the scratch track because we were getting up in like 4 days to go to Atlanta to fly out to the studio. And then we got to the studio, and we sent them a small little clip of like us recording that song. They're like, "What song is that?" And we're like, "Oh crap! Well, hey, so tell you what."
Well, the good thing is we had at least like when we were the bones of the song were there when we were just digging around in the rehearsal room.
Yeah.
Just so when you showed it to us, it was like, oh yeah,
we just took this and put it here, and that went there. Yeah.
It's pretty much the same. It has words now.
Yeah.
I want to kind of go back to Kyle just for a second, because the one thing about drums to me is like the biggest part of the band, because you're the one that sets the tone, you set the time signatures, you do all of that. So you kind of dictate, the song, and then everybody else just kind of works around the beat or the bass line. So how do you approach when you're going to play the drums? How do you approach that in every song? Like what is your process?
I don't really have one, and that's I'm trying to work on that. I'm self-taught, and everything I learn everything by ear. And I don't have to explain that there's just bad at counting time, I kind of just feel it. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of developing something to keep myself a little more straight and on the path, but at the same time, sometimes we speed things up and slow things down just naturally when we go to play the song, and I kind of dig it sometimes.
Yeah. So kind of what I'm getting at is then basically Nick and Josh and Ernest, they kind of come up with their part of it, and then you listen to it, and do you kind of just throw in your drums as you listen to it to fit what they're doing?
With this album, but the original scratch tracks I was given, if I'm not mistaken, Nick played all the drums on the scratch tracks. And if you didn't know this, Nick can play the drums probably better than I can.
No, I did not know that. You should have said that. You know what? I was supposed to come back to you. Now I know something about Nick that I didn't know. And
I was just telling them when we was listening to the song, I was just telling him, I was like, I can't believe he just got away with that. I cannot believe that. But
you just hadn't made it back to me yet. That's all.
I love it.
I love it too because Nick, I didn't know you knew how to play the damn drums.
I can hit things. I don't know what I'm doing. I just beat things with sticks. I don't know.
Hey, don't let him lie to you. Yeah. He did a little sound check at the album release party, and I just figured I should go home at that point.
No, I'm gonna teach you guitar. You can be the lead singer. We'll swap.
We'll swap. You don't want that.
Hey, I really like that, Josh. Excuse me, not Josh. Kyle. See, I wanted to call him Josh. Kyle. That is really amazing because I would have never known that Nick knew how to play the damn drums. Nick, I know you're going to be modest. You're going to say I just beat things, but come on, let's be real. You might not be a professional drummer, but you know how to get your way around the drum kit.
I do, and it's funny.
Nick.
It's funny though because growing up when I was a kid, the first instrument I wanted to play was drums. So the first instrument my dad ever bought me was a little, beginner drum set, and that's what I started playing. And then obviously he introduced me to Jimi Hendrix, and well, it was downhill from there.
Hey, I want you guys to continue to listen because in a few moments or a little bit down the road, we will have Here's to a Small Town for you guys to listen to. And I promise you, after you've heard Back and Better and Here's to a Small Town, you're going to go out and spend that $10 and get them 7 songs because I know I let's talk about I'll tell you what. So let's go in the order of your CD. Let's talk about Someone Else's Story. Well, now, when I heard this, again, this is kind of one of those songs that could be sad, but you have it at such a good tempo pace that you can almost dance to the dang thing. It's such an interesting way that you guys did it. It's reminiscing. The way I took it was, you got a musician who is reminiscing on the lost love, of his life, having a girl, knowing she's the best, and then regretting letting her go. That's kind of like how I took that, which kind of builds off of Back and Better, and it keeps going in that direction. So is that kind of what you guys were? Obviously, I know this is on your personal experiences. Is that kind of like what you guys were intending it to be?
Not necessarily in that kind of continuous storytelling way, which is a really good way to view it. But it kind of when I wrote that song, it was kind of that vibe, of like looking back on a time, just kind of reminiscing about a time where you were on a serious up, and then things just didn't work out, and now you just wish you were back there. But the whole fact of it being a quote unquote slower song, but still a really upbeat tempo, that's all to do with Ken, man, going out and working with Ken Riley in Rio Grande Studios. He took, because we had sent him all the scratch tracks, so he knew what we were working with, and he took it and he would sit there and be like, what you have, and he said, what you have is great, let's make it better. And he just kind of took it, and he's like, it's very Nashville. And what I'm hearing stylistically for you guys is not Nashville, but more on the Red Dirt side. So he had a really big part in taking what we had, which was really good, with the scratch tracks and taking what we had and making it just totally different in my opinion, way better than it ever was originally.
And that's kind of what I was at, Ernest, I'll come to you now. I know we were talking about pre-show that I wanted to kind of talk about Ken Riley and, and how he improved or helped or shaped your album. What was it like for you to work with Ken Riley? And obviously you're gonna, I know in Rio Grande Studios, you're gonna work with him again. I'm assuming you obviously loved it because it turned out well. But what was it like to work with Ken Riley?
Man, first of all, I mean, he's just a guy. You know what I mean? As soon as you walked into the room with him, I mean, there was, he was just, it just connected. He was just another one of those dudes you just kind of felt like you knew your whole life. And we had a sit down and he talked about where the music was at. And, he's like, man, you guys is from the South, y'all right there, the Allman Brothers, Skinner and stuff like that. He said, I really want to dig in and grab that sound and really push you guys in that direction. And then he brought up something, man, I've never seen any other producer, do, but he was like, man, you've got to listen to the songs. He said, the song will tell you what it needs. And he would just sit there and we would go on the playback if we laid some tracks. And Nick would be sitting there in the studio with a guitar in his hand. And Ken would go, hey, man, let me hold the guitar for a second. And he would grab the guitar and just kind of, finger around on something. He's like, I want you to do something like this. And he'd hand the guitar back to Nick, and Nick would do it. He's like, yeah. And he'd hit record. And he would just keep layering these other pieces on it. And sometimes it might be just like a single note, or it might be, a 3 or 4 or a whole nother rhythm on top of something.
Yeah.
But he would just build the layers on it, man, and go back and listen. And no matter how minute it was, it just added so much depth and so much more intensity, to the song. And it was crazy, man, to watch his creativity and how he built
so
off of it.
Fun. It was so much fun to sit in that control room with him because, and I love bringing it up, but in someone else's story during the verse, there's like that little kind of high plunky little riff that you can hear in the background. And it would sometimes be stuff like that where I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of noodling, trying to figure out a part. And Ken would go, let me see that for a second. He'd pick that up and he'd play that part just by itself, no track behind it. He would just play it on the guitar by itself. And like you'd sit there and I was sitting there and I'm like, that's not going to work. Like, what? That sounds weird. And then he hits record and I'm not focusing on the rest of the tracks. I'm focusing on playing it. And then he gets done and he goes, all right, hold on. 15 seconds, he just mixes it in and just like does all his, production stuff. And he hits play and we just sit there and he looks at me and just gives me a look. And then I'm like, oh my God, that is incredible. Like also with like All I Knew, the little, as we call them, the teardrops. There's like at the end of each line, there's like a little guitar part. And like when he did that, I'm like, where's that gonna fit? And I mean, it's now like the part in the song. And it was so much fun. It was incredible.
Because that is really the thing, right? I mean, I've talked to other bands and things like that when they've gone in, and the number one thing they say is, you have to have a good relationship, a good working relationship with your producer engineer, because they really are like on your album. Yeah, it's you, but it's also the sound and production engineer too, putting his kind of molding and shaping of that. And I think you guys have a good connection and a good synergy with Ken, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next album brings. Let's go ahead and play "Here's to a Small Town," and then we'll talk some more.
All right, yeah. It's not bad. Still good. What was that? That one's US. No.
So, the interesting thing for me, guys, I'll tell you a little story about this. Again, I was down at the fire pit, and I had my little, I don't know, pill speaker, and I had it sit on the fire pit. I got my cigar, I got my little notepad, and my little drink, and I'm listening to "Here's a Small Town." Now, mind you, Melanie had just had a really rough day at work. Like, she just had a rough day. I said, Melanie, I'm gonna get some wine. I put a wine glass down there for you. Let's go down. We'll hang out, whatever. So I have my little wine glass for her down there as well. And I'm listening to "Here's to a Small Town." And Melanie's coming down, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's great music. Who is that?" I said, "Baby, that's Delta Circle. That's and Ernest and Kyle and Josh." And she's like, "That is a good." And it really, I can see that it kind of like took her out of had a shitty day mode, and now I'm having a good day mode. And I just wanted to tell you that's real. That's like real stuff. And
hey, we've done our job, man. That's it.
Hell yeah, man. Appreciate that.
That's it.
Notice music.
I think a lot of people that's going to listen to this are going to resonate. Look, we all know I came from a small town. I went to a small town. I've been to lots of small towns because in the military, you go from one small town to another small town, and the only thing that keeps the town going is the military base. Let's be honest. But no, so I spent a lot of time in Hinesville, some time in Savannah, and then a lot of time in Richmond Hill. And this song really kind of resonated. First of all, you guys have great guitar work, and your harmonies are really, really good. And I was curious to know who exactly was the background vocals behind Nick. Was it just Ernest, or was it somebody else other than Ernest?
That's all Nick, man.
Yeah. Ernest and I flew out. Well, except on that song, it's all me. But on Back and Better, we actually didn't have a harmony line for that song. And then we got sent the masters before the album come out. And I heard that harmony line. I was like, oh my God. Because Ken had put harmonies to Back and Better. And I was like, that is insane. I would have never thought that. But no, all the other harmonies on the record, because it was just Ernest and I out there. So all the harmonies was me as well.
That's interesting because I'm telling you, man. When I listen to here's my there are certain parts, I feel like there's two people singing in unison, but it's not. It's just you.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I have to give all credit on that to Ken, because blending the same voice in two separate registers to sound like two different people, that's not easy. That's not easy to do.
I wouldn't even know how to even go about that. You know, funny story is I was talking to Melanie about this, and I said, Mel, they keep talking about this red and black with pride. I said, what team out there is red? She said, Jason, don't be stupid. It's Georgia Bulldogs.
Go Dogs. That's right.
Go Dogs. Come on.
I asked the same question at one point, and they were like, I was like, what team? We got to think for a music video. What team wears red and black? And they were like, you idiot.
You know, ours. Is there any other team? I mean
both of ours.
I don't really follow football that much.
I mean, same, but come on now.
I'm much more interested in the UFC, man.
I'm a NASCAR guy. I'm a NASCAR guy.
Lord. Hey,
So
listen,
for me, red and black is the
I'm glad
other.
you said that. If you guys are in a NASCAR, my boy Glenn has a show coming out now. I think it's called Big Glenn on Elite Sports, and he's a NASCAR enthusiast, and he goes to all the races, interviews all the guys. So if you're in a NASCAR, check him out because he is all about NASCAR.
I need his number so I can go with him.
Hey, look. Well, hey, I'll hook you up backstage. Don't worry.
Let's go.
We'll swap.
But no, you know, so it's interesting. So small towns, you know, you're right. I mean, the closeness, the personal relationships. I think even Ernest had alluded to it earlier that, you know, there's not a person probably in Savannah that plays bass guitar that he probably doesn't know. That's what you get in a small town. You know, I've lived in big cities and I've lived in small towns. And in the big cities, it's kind of like you get lost in the shuffle a little bit. It's not as personal. You don't have the close connections. But I think the character building, the morals, the cow tipping, the personal relationships, you can't get that in a big city. And I think you really, and I didn't really realize this, but you really kind of treasure it in the small towns. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. You know, and it's like you're never too big to know where you came from.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep. Exactly.
And I really appreciated this song. Let's go on to the next song that's on there that I was thinking about was and let me go to my notebook here. All I Know. It's interesting because I wrote this down in my thing. I said, All I Know, Holding a Beer, are basically the same kind of country breakup song that kind of at the end of the day ties itself back into Like I Love You. And we'll get more into that in a minute. But for me, I felt like those kind of three songs were kind of all connected a little bit. I don't know if you guys felt that way when you were making it.
And kind of, I mean, all I knew, I wrote that song, I mean, years ago. I've been sitting on that song for a couple years, because it's one of those songs where as a songwriter, and I'm sure if there's other songwriters watching or listening, you'll understand this. There's certain songs that you just baby them and you cherish them a little too much just to give them to anybody. You want that right group or that right person or that right time to do it. And that was one of those songs for me for sure. But when I brought it to Ernest and brought it to the other guys, you know, it had gone through a couple different iterations over the years of me just kind of touching up on it, fixing it, making it a little different. But when I brought it to the guys, I mean, they were like, it's so different from anything else on the record, you know, because if you notice, like none of the other songs, have an acoustic guitar in them, but let alone start with it, you know. So it's a total dynamic shift. And it is your typical, like, I've hit rock bottom in this breakup. Like, I've totally hit a rock bottom, you know, kind of deal. But at the same time, it's also anthemic in the sense of it's still uplifting at the end. I'm going to paint this town, find someone new, and walk away from all I knew.
And it's got a bass solo intro.
It's got a bass solo intro and outro. Like,
that makes a whole song.
And it has to be on the fret list too. God almighty. Oh.
Hey, now Nick, I was saying to Ernest earlier, in a previous conversation, I said, you know what? I'd like to see some more bass and lower tones. Kind of like you ever seen Saturday Night Live? I need more cowbell.
Yeah, we need more bass.
More earnest. I need a little
Keep
bit
saying
more.
the same thing, man.
Hey.
You know.
Well, fun fact, at our shows, when we get to the point of the show where I'm doing the band introduction, I let him just go. I just let him Cliff Burton himself over here. You know, I'll stop playing. I walk over next to Kyle. Like I walk to the back of the stage and we just hang out there for a second while he just absolutely tears up that bass. Better than some lead guitar players I know.
That's better than me.
Dude, it's insane. So, well, yeah, I think we need to have t-shirts made. Make bass solos great again.
But no, see,
Yeah.
okay, we go from All I Knew, and then we go to holding a beer. And I told Melanie, I said, man, I can't think of how many times I've told you to hold my beer. That's not what the song is about. That's not what the song is about. But but it was kind of funny. I said I feel like the song should be my anthem.
I'm here for it
because the song talks about basically, for what I think is, it's kind of like you had this girlfriend, you let her go, another guy gets her, he's holding her, and basically you're just left hugging your beer. If that's the song I ever heard of, I don't know what the hell is.
Well, yeah, and that song is funny because Ernest actually, we kind of wrote that song together, but he had started writing it, and he sent me some lyrics. It was about a year and a half ago. He texted me some lyrics. He's like, "Hey, man, this is something I've been working on. What do you think we could do with that?" And I was like, "All right, you know, there's something here for sure." Like instantly, the way it's written, you know, it starts out with such a strong lyric. I lost myself today. I'm like, I mean, right there, that's a grabber, that's a hook.
Yeah.
But just the way it was written was really good, and I enjoyed it right off the bat. So we just kind of took it and marinated on it for a couple months, and then it ended up. And actually, when we first cut the scratch track of it, I mean, it was like I'm talking 80s country.
Yeah.
Like it was some old school. Dude. I hope someday that version gets to see the light of day.
Yeah.
I hope so because I still love it. But another ode back to Ken, when we took it to the studio, he said, "Don't get me wrong." He's like, "I'm not gonna lie, I love this version, but it doesn't fit the album like that." So he's like, just think kind of more along the Skinner lines of just, you know, something kind of a little more chopped up, a little more.
He made us listen to
It was Simple Man, yeah. And he's like, think of something like Simple Man, like driving, but still low tier. And we were like, all right, you know, we can vibe with that.
But when Nick throwing back like to the 80s country, that's, you know, when I was writing that song, when I came up with the chorus, you know, I wanted to come up with something that, I mean, you always want to get a hook. Everybody remembers the chorus before they remember anything else in a song. So I wanted to get a good chorus that had a hook, and nothing resonated more to me than, you know, combining Luke Bryan and Clint Black. You know, I mean, I had to sitting on the pier from Luke Bryan and then Clint Black, you know, I'd be better off in a pine box on a slow train back to Georgia, you know. So those words, I brought those together, and then, you know, finishing off with holding the beer, I'm like, man, you just can't nail that down any better. And I'm like,
it's so good. I love it so much.
Yeah,
I love it.
And so we kind of go into Like I Love You, right? Which, you know, to me sounds like, from what I think, again, this whole album is kind of like from a perspective of a musician who makes it and looks back on what he gave up to get what he got. If I'm wrong, is that kind of the way you guys were making it? Was from the mindset of a musician going through a relationship?
I mean, kind of, not specifically, but that's a really good way to look at it. It's just kind of I might just need to have you say it the way you described the title.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nick wrote that song, and I mean, and since day one, it's another song that's went through many iterations, and but just the vocals always connected with me. The lyrics, I should say, you know, because it's just, you know, people's always been in a relationship, and you've come out of those relationships and you always try to fill that void. You know what I mean? No matter if it's substances or hobbies or anything else, you know, you always feel like you're chasing that connection and that love that you once had for somebody. And man, when that lyric hits, you know, on there about, you know, no matter what he's got going on, he can never love it like he loved you. You know what I mean? And it's just always resonated with me. And I've just always felt that was a great song and the impact. And, he did that when we was in Houston. They had this thing up called the Naked Stage, and you had to climb on stage, and it was just you and an acoustic guitar. And we told Nick, it's like, this is the song that you need to do. And you're in a room full of guys that's in the industry and other musicians. And when he hit that chorus, like, you should have just heard the vocal reaction in the room. They were just like, like, hell yeah, because they got it. You know what I mean? Like, they connected with that, knowing the same thing. Like, especially as musicians, they've all been in that point that usually you're using music to try to replace some type of, love that you've had once upon a time in your life. And no matter how many stages you take, how many shows you play, how many songs you write, it's just never the same as it was that when they were loving you, and I think that's what makes that song click so good.
Absolutely.
Kyle, let me ask you this, Kyle. If you got into a relationship and while you're in the band and she said, I want you to give up that lifestyle and be with me because I don't want to be on the road traveling with you. Because look, let's be honest. When you guys make it big, you're going to be traveling outside of the state of Georgia. This whole Georgia thing, that ain't but for a minute. You guys are going to be on the road. You're going to be going to different places, different cities. If you met the love of your life, kind of like what the song is kind of talking about, would you give up that love of your life to live the life of a rock star?
My girlfriend's actually sitting in the car with me.
Oh,
we're in,
never mind.
We're in PA. We were here for a wedding, and she's sitting here whispering. She's like, I'm so ready to travel. Let's go. I'm ready to quit my job. Let's do it right now. The whole time you were talking.
Okay, so I picked the wrong person for that question. Let's go to a room where there's no girlfriends present. Josh. Little Josh.
That's the one. That's the one.
That's the safe bet.
Yes, that's the guy to go with. Well, I think
touch Ernest.
all I was doing, like,
they got some relationships. I'm not going to put them on the spot. But
so, luckily, we're all supported. So that's
very well supported.
all jokes aside, I mean, the only thing other than, myself screwing something up that would pull me off is if I had a kid, if I had a newborn child that I just, I can't just be on, that's the only situation that would, in which I would be like, okay, you're all right. Otherwise, it's like, no, you just ain't right. If you ain't gonna support what I'm doing, no matter you think it's crazy or it's never gonna work, if you ain't gonna at least support me trying it, then wasn't right.
Honestly, that's a really good answer. So then it takes it to honestly what I think is my favorite song. Nick, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Back and Better's good. Here's to a Small Town is amazing. But bro, my jam is Take You Out. I don't know what it is about that song. And I don't know, because my brain kind of went left for a minute. The very first time I ever heard that song, it starts off with that really good drum solo at the very beginning of it. I don't know why, but all I could think of was, what? And Disturbed came to my brain. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I thought that, because every time I've gone back and listened to it a million times after that, I'm like, Jay, what were you thinking? That is nothing like Disturbed. But for some reason, the first time I heard that song, that's exactly what went through my brain.
Hey, again, just
good, energetic song to end the album on.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, that was kind of the point when we had that song recorded, was we were like, all right, the album comes in with Back and Better, and it's just an immediate punch in the face from the get-go. We're not playing around. This, welcome to the show, welcome to the record. And then you get the whole rest of the record, and it's like we didn't want to end on like a duller note, and we also didn't want to have all the excitement too close to the beginning of the record, because
sure.
you don't want people to hear your really exciting stuff right at the beginning and then be like, okay, that's it. Like, you don't got to listen to it. Like the whole, it's so tying it in at the end. And that song, I had written that by challenging myself of writing the riff first, because usually I write lyrics first, but I just wrote an entire song with no lyrics. And then it honestly got lost in my computer for about 2 years. And then it resurfaced when I was thinking about songs to put on this record. And I was like, and I had some lyrics written down, and I was like, okay, this is like Foo Fighters all day, like early Foo Fighters. And then it originally didn't have that drum solo at the beginning. Then Ken was like, okay, hear me out. What if we start it with just the drums? I was like, okay, I'm listening.
But and you keep bringing up the structure of the album as well, Jay. The album was actually laid out to tell a story. It's a book. It's someone else's story. So chapter 1 is the explanation of, hey, we're back, we're better, this is what's going on. The next 5 tracks in between is telling you how we got there and why we had to leave in the first place. And then at the very end would take you out. We're cleaning the slate. You know what I mean? We have taken it out. We're done, and now this is where we're at now. So wait until the second book comes out. So that's why when you look on that book, the album itself, it's not tracks, it's chapters. We got chapter 1. So that's
exactly yes. Yeah. Exactly. The whole time I'm listening to this thing, maybe I said it wrong, but that's exactly what I was feeling. I feel like I'm in a book on somebody's life, and we're just going, like you said, to the chapters. That's a better way of saying it than what I said. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, good. And that's what we were wanting to go for when we're, because like I said, we had the songs. So, of course, you look at the songs, and they're not synced out. They're just songs, and they're just laying there. And they're like, okay, now we want to put these on the album. How do you want to go about this? And we talked about, we're like, well, man, we're wanting to go with this book theme, as someone else's story. And so we literally looked into the songs and seen how they were laid out. And that's why we ran it the way we did. And then that's what we want to connect with everybody. It's just like it's booked in about us coming back and taking everything out. And now in the middle is telling you, how we got to this point.
No, in all honesty, that's exactly the way I took the album. The way you just said it, it's like I said, I think it's phenomenally well done. It really is.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
This, Nick, I noticed, in the chorus of that song, I think that really pushed your vocal range to the edge. Would you agree with that?
Which one? Take you out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that one wasn't horrible. The one that we saved for last was Back and Better. We saved that song vocally for last. But no, Take You Out was up there as well. But because it's one of those things like when you're in the studio, another thing going back to having a good working relationship and make what makes a good album is you can sing a song all you want. People can hear you sing a song all you want. Say, oh, he sang it good. But if you want a good connecting album, make them believe it. And that was something that Ken kept saying to me all the time. He's like, the song's great. The song's great. I don't need you to tell me how great the song is. Make me believe it. When you're singing it, make me believe it. Don't just tell me the story. Make me believe the story.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
Yeah, because Ken's exact words is like, hey, I'm invested. You know what I mean? Like, I'm investing my time in the studio to record these songs. And he's like, and if I don't believe what you're saying,
nobody else is,
He's like, make me believe it.
And he awakened a singing monster inside of me I didn't know was sleeping because it was funny because it was that song. I was tracking the chorus to that song, and Ernest was sitting in the control room with him. And I did a take, and he stops tracking. He comes in the talk back, and he goes, all right, that was great. Now open your damn mouth. And I was like, sir, he goes, sing the song. And I was like, all right, yes, sir. And he's like, all right, we're rolling again. But it was just, that one was up there. That one was hard. But it's become one of my favorite songs to play live. It's because, like you said, it's so high energy. All 4 of us, I mean, just from the start, like when Kyle starts on the drums, it's just from that moment, you can just feel the energy like in the venue just triple. It just immediately. And it's just so much fun.
And what I like about that song is it kind of starts out, like you said, with the drums. So it kind of has that not slow, but just moderate tempo. But then as the song goes along, that tempo starts to rise.
It just beats up.
When you get to the chorus, you're like at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
You know, and now I'm like, yes, I'm on for the ride. Let's
Yes.
go, baby. Let's go.
Yes. Let's
Hands up
go.
in the air. I'm ready to go down the road. Like, it really is. I felt like that's what that song conveyed. Nick, I thought your guitar playing and the way you picked it real well.
Thank you.
Ernest, I thought the bass, the drums, the rhythm guitar. I mean, you guys all did such a really good job. Not only on the album, but this song specifically, I thought. Like I said, I love the song. It closes with a choice. You know, you can. It's just great, man. So yeah. I know that's kind of all the songs. I think we went through all the songs. I just want to kind of wrap it up with kind of like what's next in line for Delta Circle. I know obviously you're probably not going to have another album come out for at least 6 to 8 months. But in terms of this album that you've currently got on, I know you guys are got probably some big plans. Is there any specific plans that you can share with us? Like what's next for Delta Circle?
Yeah, we can touch base a little bit. Our plans is, we're going to spend the next 7 to 8 months, pushing this album. We're going to be dropping another single, another music video soon, and we're going to continue that on, throughout each song on the album to really get this thing out there and push it. We just got interviewed for Blues and Rock International magazine. That's going to be getting released in December. We got a press release coming out in December with Stroll magazine here out of Savannah. And we just got picked up with Relics magazine, so we'll be in their issue as well, coming out here in the next month or two. And rumors have it that we may be coming to do a circle run in the big state of Texas soon as well. So that's all we can. That's all we can say on that right now. But yeah, man, we're very fortunate. We not only do we have a good group of guys that we're playing music with, we've been blessed, and then we have got a good album out. But we have a lot of people that's working with us right now behind the scenes. A lot of things that other people aren't seeing. Seems like it's kind of quiet on the front, man. But we got a lot of hooks in the water, and
working hard.
Yeah, and we can't wait to everybody start seeing the fruits of our labor, man. I think by 2025, within the first quarter, we're going to be able to start dropping a lot of good things for everybody to see what's actually going on over here with the Circle Nation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know you guys are signed to Muzzle Records. Shout out to Muzzle Records. You guys got a hell of a good band on your lineup. And I know you guys, Muzzle Records has said you're like one of the hardest working bands out there. Nick, Ernest, and Kyle and Josh. I know for a fact you guys are the hardest working because I've been around you guys, and you guys are a very extremely hard working band. I know you guys just came off of Doc's out there at Tybee Island. I know you had an acoustic set out there. I'm kind of upset because I really would have loved to have been there for that one. Because honestly, it sounds like a hell of a lot of fun, and I love them. I love acoustic music straight up because I feel like you're naked, you're vulnerable, you're not able to hide behind the electric side of it, and
Sure.
it's just. I like the stripped down version of it, and it's great for sipping on whiskey. It really is.
Yeah.
The one thing I did want to ask you about. Oh, not ask you about, but congratulate you on. You guys just won Battle of the Bands.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Sure did.
Yes, we did.
Real quick before you get out of here, I'm not going to go to the main two guys because I'm going to go to the alternate guys, not alternate, but the guys that just came into the band. Josh, and then I'm going to wrap it up with Kyle. What was it like to win Battle of the Bands?
I think it was an amazing experience. It was a whole lot of fun. Unfortunately, we had to immediately, 3/4 of us, take off and drive an hour and a half down to St. Simon's Island for a gig at 7 o'clock. So only this guy right here got to hold the big giant check.
I saw that. Ernest had this whole check. He's just laughing. I'm going straight to the bank. These kids ain't getting none of this done.
I would have gave back all that money just to take that big check home, man. No, I'm not kidding, but I am at the same time. No, it's a great cause. I think we were able to help raise a lot of money for the Broad County Protective Agency with everything they do for domestic violence victims and everything. That's more important. I can make all these jokes about big checks, and I mean it. I want a big check on my wall in the house someday, but we can wait on that.
How the hell do you take a check that size into a bank and say, when do you go to the cashier and you give me this big poster size check and say, I'd like to deposit this, please? And she's probably looking
So actually, a behind the curtain moment is you have to give that back, and they mail you a paper check. So.
No, seriously, that's a legit question. Every time I've ever seen anybody get a big check like that, I'm like, what is he supposed to do with?
I was hoping, I was making room in the back of the car and everything, and there was like 6 people chasing me. I didn't understand what was going on, and then I realized I had to give it back. So,
Hey, that's kindling from a bonfire tonight. Come on.
Next to me, I got a perfectly legal check here.
it's got our name on it.
It's signed. It's got our name on it. It's got a memo. It's got a dollar amount. I mean, it's a check.
If you think about it, with just the size of the average bank and how big their vault is, they'd have about 4 of those checks in there, or they just couldn't hold anything more.
They would be ours.
I'm waiting for the day that I can get a big check like that.
Yeah.
Is it not part of the American dream? Everybody wants a big check to hold one day.
I've got a lot of big dreams, and that is definitely one of them.
A big dream of a big check.
Most of my dreams have been crushed. No, I can't say that, Jay. We're on air. So Kyle, what was it like to win Battle of the Bands for you, man? Like what was your experience in that?
There were so many great other acts that were down there that when we left for the other gig, I was like, yeah, we tried. We gave it our best. And then when Ernest called us and told us he won, we were like jumping up and down like little schoolgirls.
We were too, right there in the parking lot.
And he shows up, and we're all looking around like, "Where's the big check?" To find out that we didn't get to keep it. Listen, I'm just as bad as Josh that I didn't get to hold a big check. So we are signing up for the next big check event, and it's happening.
I mean, at the very least, they could have wrote void across the big check, so you could have hung on to it and then mailed you the smaller check later. I mean, they
could have deducted the cost of a new big check from our winnings, and we would have been okay with that.
We on a budget. We gotta dry erase this and use it for the next one. Don't.
Yeah.
All right. My gosh. Hey guys, it has been a pleasure, man.
Absolutely.
I love having you guys on. Kyle and Josh, man, you guys are awesome. I can't wait to see the sophomore album because I want to see, now that you guys are fully integrated into the band, I want to see that next album and see what you guys bring to the Delta Circle sound in terms of your songwriting and musicianship. I'm looking forward to it. It's amazing. Is there anything you guys want to say before we head on out of here?
No, man. Once again, we appreciate the opportunity. We always enjoy coming on here and hanging out with you. And let's do it again soon.
That's what I like to hear. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to go hit us up on all social media facets at Delta Circle. The only one that's different is Twitter, but you can still find us.
Oh yeah, we're everywhere. And they can also find our new music video that goes along with Here's to a Small Town on YouTube.
Yep.
So go check it out.
That thing is sick.
And if you guys remember nothing less, just know that you can go to deltacirclemusic.com.
Absolutely,
sir.
Nice. I'm still waiting on my hand. Yeah.
It's coming.
I'm breaking it in first.
No. Hey, listen, you've already got it pre-formed. I mean, seriously.
Hey, that's it. That's trademark.
All right, folks. It has been another edition of Whiskey Hour. It's been another great interview with Delta Circle. We will have them back at some point. And it's your boy Jay McLovin saying, peace out, go Horns.
Dogs.